Cashflow Diary podcast, episode 459.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because here's the thing. Many of you may know, or maybe you don't know yet, that a change has been happening. What do I mean by this? I mean, changing the source of cash flow is something that as a business owner, you've got to constantly be adaptable to. You adapt to the marketplace. Now, as a real estate guy, I'm not going too far. In fact, many of you know I went straight into the whole world of short-term rentals, which I think is amazing. And there are so many reasons why I think many real estate investors should be doing the exact same thing. But that's not what we're talking about today. Here's the thing. Many people think real estate, or specifically short-term rentals, is about the real estate. No, it's about the customer's experience that they have while at your real estate, which means lots of real estate plays make a ton of sense. But here's what it has also meant. Many of you may not know, but I was recently diagnosed with autism/Asperger's as well as ADHD, which is interesting in and of itself, but it has been highlighted in that I have trouble connecting emotionally with my customers and giving them the experience that they need. So, can anybody guess what we're going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about making sure your customers have the experience that they deserve and you ultimately want to deliver so your business can thrive. And I have with me the best person on the planet to help us all. You may know her as Jeanne Bliss, or you may know the previous book, Chief Customer Officer. Now, I like that title already, but she's got a new book called Would You Do That to Your Mother? And I think if I would just ask myself that question when interacting with my customers, guess what? I would probably do a little bit better. I hope that you are ready to learn. I hope that you are ready to listen. I hope that you are ready to have some fun, because if we can make our customers' lives better, then our business is better too. And probably those that work with us and for us would enjoy the process. So let's learn and let's listen to Jeanne Bliss. Jeanne, how you doing?
Hey, Jay, I'm great. I love the intro. Great to be with you.
You're quite welcome. I'm excited that you're here. Now, I didn't tell you what I did before, and you didn't get the chance to hear that on purpose. Do you now understand why I said I'm going to be excited to talk to you?
I really did. I love the intro. It got me jazzed. I had all kinds of idea balloons flying out of my head as you were talking. So love it. Love it.
Okay. Now, before we get too deep into it, I want to ask you, because this is the first time that you've been here, I got to ask you the same question that I ask everybody else. You ready?
Sure.
All right.
Ready. I
tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes, like Batman, Wonder Woman, the Hulk, etc. And I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. Chief among them, as an entrepreneur, I can occasionally imagine myself flying around town and, saving customers with our products and services, and maybe occasionally wearing a cape. So also, like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. If you think about Spider-Man, for example, there was a time where he was just a kid going to school. Taking some photos, trying to earn some pizza money, and maybe go on a date with Mary Jane. That was it. That was all he was after. And then one day something happened to him and he discovers he's got superhuman abilities and he gets to choose whether to use them for good or evil. So my question to you is as follows. Before becoming the founder and president of Customer Bliss and the co-founder of the Customer Experience Professional Association, before your books, before everything that people know you for today, even before your Make Mom Proud initiative, which I absolutely love. What we want to know is, who is Jeanne Bliss?
Aha. Well, the daughter of a man who owned a Buster Brown shoe store.
A what shoe store?
Buster Brown. You're probably too young. So,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No. It was Buster Brown was a shoe company that focused on children's shoes. So I'm one of 7 kids. It was a funny little jingle. I'm Buster Brown. I live in a shoe. Here's my dog Tig. He lives in there too. Anyway,
Seriously?
It was this children's
Awesome.
shoe. Now you've heard me sing. A children's shoe store. My dad had a store that sold children's shoes. But what he did was he became a part of the story of people's lives. He put on the very first pair of shoes for a generation of children and their children's children. And all 7 of us sat in that store and watched my dad's humanity and how he grew that business, not just from taking care of those tiny feet, but their lives. And so much so that when they thought of that time in their life, like your entrepreneurs, I mean, this is the whole point of this work, is memory creation. That he was there. And a line of people 2 blocks long stood to say goodbye to him when he closed that store.
Wow.
So that was my youth. And I can walk you through more professionally that came after that. That was like this perfect congruence of where I found my first real home in the corporate world.
Oh, don't worry. We're definitely getting to that.
Okay.
But what I wanted to stop in for a moment. So it sounds like it was family owned business. Was it a franchise? I mean, I just don't know.
It was one Buster Brown shoe store and 9 mouths to feed. Yeah, it was interesting. And so we were all part of it. We're also all 100% Italian. So he was cooking peppers and garlic in the back.
Yeah, you would think it would have been a restaurant instead, but okay.
Yeah, right. He couldn't leave the store. So, if it was just this whole, we're going to make this work. And so, it was he was an entrepreneur. He did not want to work for anybody. It was important to him that he call the shots, and he ingrained in all of us. I'm an entrepreneur now after, having been in corporate for many years. Many of my siblings are entrepreneurs. And so I think we got that from my dad of, wanting to really wire our own humanity and core values into how we will and will not grow.
Yeah, no, I get that. So, but I have a question.
Sure.
All right, you like many of the listeners and many of people, before we realize or wake up to or give ourselves permission to finally become that entrepreneur, we do a stint in corporate America.
Yep.
So tell us 2 things about that journey in corporate America. And more importantly, how did you find the courage to leave it? Yeah.
Well, so I had this amazing, joyous opportunity. My first job was at a company called Land's End. Do you know Land's End, Jay?
I do know that one. I'm good.
Okay, good. Well, I just got to check. I think you'll know the rest. I answered an ad in the Chicago Tribune. I'm a Midwesterner originally, and it was to go train 2,500 phone operators on their products and services.
Wow.
So I marched myself from Chicago to Wisconsin and had this joy of finding in a big corporation, they were just about 100 million at the time, but not on their way to $1 billion. I was part of that. Very entrepreneur at the time, even though it was a company, bootstrapping still. So I was doing all of that, really talking to the customers and the employees, and kept hearing from them things we needed to improve. And my joy, my great opportunity was to pepper the CEO and the founder, Gary Comer, of things we had to do to get better, to improve customer experience, to improve the employees' lives. And so he said, okay, smarty pants, you Italian thing, you stop doing that. You report now to to myself and the other two leaders of the company, you are the conscience of our company as we grow. We were growing 80% a year. So all of you out there who are entrepreneurs, when you're growing rapidly, while you have to get systems and processes and approaches down, you also need to honor and nurture and hold tight that culture that got you there in the first place. And so I held that job for about 10 years. We went public. So I was 26 when I got that job. Again, like entrepreneurs, we're young, and our youthfulness and our zip and our vigor and our, energy that was honored there. It was amazing. And so I was hooked and knew that my job would always be about uniting organizations to deliver an experience that was greater than the sum of the silos or its parts. So, Jay, I left Land's End. I'd grown up there. And I went to Mazda. Mazda was hiring from the world's best companies at the time on how to wrap an experience around their cars. Zoom, zoom. The Miata had just come out. The RX-7 was very popular. And so I went there. I reported as a senior American executive at Mazda Motor of America, the corporate headquarters for all of Mazda in the United States. After that, I went to Coldwell Banker Corporation. I became the senior vice president of franchise services. I wanted to work with the entrepreneurs. So my job was to deliver value to the franchisees who went from their entrepreneurial individual companies to become a Coldwell Banker franchisee. And my job was to ensure they got success, value, and that we instilled in them also an approach for delivering and developing value for their customers in the home buying journey. My team there, for example, built the first version of a website to buy and sell homes. Scared the heck out of the real estate agents in the early 90s, as you could imagine. After that, I went to Allstate Corporation. I was their first vice president of customer satisfaction and retention, reporting to the president and CEO of the personal lines company. And then, and what you'll notice, Jay, is I changed industries each time deliberately to figure out my kit bag, to get better at it, to sharpen that saw, to take a phrase that we know so well. And then finally, I knew I needed technology. And so my last corporate gig was at Microsoft. I was the general manager of worldwide customer and partner loyalty. And what's interesting, Jay, is that while these jobs were in corporate, each of these jobs had not existed before. So I was making it up, man,
like
every
that.
step of the way. Yeah, people would say, "What do you do all day?" So I sit at my desk and I make up stuff.
There it is. There it is. And I like it. Now, see, there's so many things here that you have just shared, and I'm overwhelmed with the sheer number of questions and ideas that I've got right now going through my head. So, because I love the idea of you being the conscience of the company, but what's really sticking out to me most of the notes that I took just now is, how does an entrepreneur deliver this great customer experience, specifically in the US where labor cost is high, without hiring a whole bunch of people and still making it all kind of work? That's where at least where I believe I feel the most challenge. It's like, how do I deliver the service I want to deliver without driving my labor costs through the roof and therefore making the business unsustainable?
Well, and it's interesting because 35 years later in the work, having written 4 books and coaching leaders around the world, which is what I do now in my own personal practice, which I started in 2002 after leaving Microsoft. I got to this last book, Would You Do That to Your Mother? Because I wanted to provide entrepreneurs and multiple sizes of organization a simple toolkit, 32 practices that actually define our lives, all of our lives as customers. What's interesting is the story of our life is totally intercepted and defined by the stories of our experiences as consumers. You can't disconnect the living in your home with the experience of buying the home, of birthing your baby with the experience of all the stuff you need to get the baby, and the experience of getting it, and were they helpful, and all of that. And so this new book, Would You Do That to Your Mother, is actually broken into 4 sections that define the 4 main categories of work that we need to do. And many of these things you'll find don't cost a thing. It's about being deliberate. It's about making the starting point your customer's life and your customer's goals. It's about looking in the mirror and, asking that conscience question. Would you do that to your mother? Loops me all the way back to Land's End. It's a conscience question. But it's also 32 toolkits where if you go through them and go through the audit in the back of the book, it will start pointing you to actions that you can build a business from in the beginning that earns you money, earns you what I call goodness-driven growth, and bonds your employees to you so you don't churn through the money that requires of replacing people, and magnetizes your customers to you so they become the army that grows your business, reducing your marketing costs as well.
See, this is the crux of my challenge today. As I mentioned in the introduction, I've been in the real estate space where you're more disconnected from your customer, and in the traditional real estate space, meaning, disconnected in the sense that I would just hire a property management firm to manage our apartment complexes, or someone else, if we had a commercial building, someone else was the one interfacing with the business owner directly there. And, with the cell phone tower, well, there was, AT&T didn't, or was it just T-Mobile, whatever. There's not a whole lot of customer experience. I'm never talking to the person with the cell phone on the other end. And having made this change into the short-term rental space, oh my goodness, the customers are there every day. But something that you said at the beginning hooked me, because this is the part that I love. It's one of the reasons I love photography, is because it allows me to become a part of somebody else's life for a long period of time. And you mentioned the words memory creation. And when people are coming, like our customers tend to come either for business. There's a lot of that out here. And there's also a lot of transitions into the area, or we also have a lot of people coming for hospital reasons, long hospital stays, etc. So we're a significant portion of their experience. And I want to make sure that we continually, and I mean, I'm fanatical about it to some degree. How do we continue to increase our reviews and make the ratings higher and make sure that they have the absolute best experience possible? But there are also this struggle, Jeanne, that I go through from time to time, where I'm like, we've already given you everything and you still want to keep taking more, is what it feels like. It's like, come on, help. So help us. How do we balance that feeling as an entrepreneur when it feels like our customers are trying to take advantage?
Well, of course. And what's the beginning point of that is also around establishing, from a communication standpoint, an understanding of expectations, what the experience is going to get, what you will deliver. And, every experience that begins because somebody trusted someone. If you trust a realtor to find you a great home or a great rental, you trust your doctor, you trust, your insurance company because to take care of your home, etc. But there has got to be an explicit understanding of the two-way trust that needs to occur as well. And what we found is if you can map or determine the experience, the journey, you don't have to call it a journey, but what are the areas, what are the 5 things, the 5 goals, for example, your customer is trying to accomplish, as in your business, they're trying to do a short-term rental with you. And then turn that into a series of memories, but then make sure you wrap communication as part of that. Because I think that where the disconnect occurs in many places is that we haven't explained the process, the fine print.
Hold on. What do you mean haven't explained the process? I don't understand. I understand. I'm also processing this in terms of what we do. So I'm like, how would I even do that?
Well, okay. So walk me through the experience of your rental experience today. What goes on? How does the experience go?
Obviously it starts with any sort of marketing on online. Maybe it came through a platform, platform page or a direct website. And usually they make an inquiry. Sometimes they just say, you know what? Everything I see on the page is good enough and the property is available, and we let them, they can make their reservation immediately. Once the inquiry is made, we have an average response time of about 40 seconds. So we get back to them really quickly, and then answer their questions and give them an invitation to go ahead and complete their reservation. And then once they've done that, within 3 minutes, they receive the confirmation. And then shortly thereafter, within 30 minutes, they receive the initial instructions of what it is that they need to do in order to gain access to the unit.
Okay. So before I answer your question, tell me more about where you feel like customers are asking for more things than you want to give, or things that are costing you money. Because I'm just trying to understand the root cause that we're trying to solve for here.
For example, it's really clear that we're an alternative form of accommodation. So occasionally we'll get questions like, how can you come and clean every day? No, that was never a part of the agreement. It was never explicitly not said, but some come with the expectation that it was supposed to be there. Same with maintenance issues. When a maintenance issue happens, it's one thing when, you're staying at a traditional accommodator. It's another when we have to arrange vendors at whatever time to try to get over there and make all that stuff happen. And again, we do it, we perform. It's just not the same. It's just that they come with a different expectation, which we don't always know where it came from. I mean, even had one time where someone expected us to have valet parking. And I'm like, I don't even understand. That one lost me. Like, how is that possible? Hello there, entrepreneur. This is Jay Massey. I know that if you've ever gone over to the site, cashflowdiary.com, you may have asked yourself, where on earth do you get a domain name from? Especially as you are beginning to build your bigger, better, badder business, you need a web presence. You need the email address. You need a way for people to contact you electronically so that you can stop doing the @gmail.com game. Well, the good folks over at GoDaddy have definitely supplied us with every domain that we have ever used. So what I want you to do is I want you to go over to trygodaddy.com/Cashflow Diary. Again, that's trygodaddy.com/Cashflow Diary, because it's a quick way for you to get set up to capture your domain name the exact way that you want it. They got easy search functions, and most importantly for you is that you'll be up and running today. As I said, once you get started, stay started. Don't let small little obstacles of how to get your own domain name going stop you. So again, go to trygodaddy.com/Cashflow Diary, and let's get back to the rest of the story.
Okay, so thank you. That's really helpful. So, and this is what happens in a lot of customer experiences. We don't know enough ahead of time. And so maybe as part of how you communicate to a customer when they start inquiring, there's some wonderful, warm way you say, thanks for trusting us. Mm-hmm. Here's what to expect. Here's where we need your trust in you. Here's where we need you to trust us back. And here's what's included. Here's what's not. Here's some options if you want more than we. And so what happens is people frequently, there'll be a gap between what they think they're getting and what they really are getting. So now what you've got is also a chasm that's inadvertently occurred. You've got, for your case, for example, you've got a new industry.
Yes.
It's not so new.
No, it's not.
But people
it's
should
new
know. But you're assuming everybody knows the rules.
Right.
So that's why I said explicit and deliberate communication.
Well, but you also said warm and nice ways, and that's not exactly. Let's just say some of us struggle with that.
Okay. So one of the things I learned when, the reason my books read the way they do and the reason I talk the way I do lot of it is the way I was raised, but when I was at Land's End, because we were growing so fast, like an entrepreneurial company, everybody did everything. So I trained the phone operators, but I was also writing copy for the catalog and all of that. And I would send Gary my corporate-y sounding copy, and he said, "Jeanne, this is boring. Like it's all corporate-y words, blah 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 blah. It's just like going in." He goes, "Write like you talk. Jay, you have this wonderful demeanor about you. Just talk and say, and then turn that into, our welcome wagon. What you should know before you put your foot in our door." And there's a big foot. Two-way trust. You can, and we, I actually worked with a very large, growing company that does this in overseas. And we actually found that was so much of where they were having their kind of chasms with customers were, what's the role of the property manager? What's the welcome experience? What's the contract experience? Can you take the fine print and unfine print it and make it very human? How do you make sure before people sign it, and you write it in some ways, are we clear or are we ready to go? Something so that there's no surprises. And then you say, here are some things, maybe you just say it. Hey, here are some things people have thought we deliver, and unfortunately, that just ain't us, or something fun.
Right.
I just snorted at you.
I heard.
And so as an entrepreneur, what I think is important is, and the cool thing about this, Jay, is that this also takes your employees along for the ride. It gives them permission and creates a learning journey for them on what your journey is. The other thing is, what it does for you? It pushes you to think and be deliberate about what you want people to feel, receive, and understand as part of the memory you deliver.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, what flows is just the processes that you've always built in your industry that don't necessarily wrap humanity and language around all of those.
Not at all. And that's the thing. It's while not a new industry, it's a new opportunity for for all of us. And because of that, there's such a learning curve to a lot of the stuff. And that's the thing. I approach it from a business and systems mindset, because that's what it took to run the portfolio, or that's what it takes to run a portfolio of many hundreds of units across many different states. This is how you do it, and I could quote unquote outsource that whole customer service stuff without over stressing myself out about it. But now we've more or less brought that in house, and I have to train these people. And I'm like, I don't know. But at the same time, when I looked, when you were talking, I was wondering how are we doing that? So I went and just looked up last month's stats, and out of 217 guests, they gave us an average of 4.86 out of 5, which I don't know if I don't think that's bad, but at the same time, I still want it to be better. And I like what you said.
And so let me help you a little bit, because this is
help me a lot of bit. I did no need to hold back.
One of the things that drives me crazy, and I don't think you're doing it, but start with the life and the life experience and earn the score.
So whoa. Say that again.
Okay. We all are, you're not chasing the score, but we make the score the end game. What really should be the end game is what experience you're delivering and how it will be different. So people will want to come back and be that army that markets for you. So let's think through the different sections, and this is for everybody out there. What are the different parts of this interaction, no matter how brief it is, that you have with someone? So interaction 1 might be how you represent the properties online.
Yeah.
And how you respond when someone poses interest. Mm-hmm. So is there an email that goes out? Mm-hmm. If there's an email that goes out, would you want your mom to read it?
Yes.
What's the language of that email? Is it warm? Does it say we're so happy you're going to join us? Here's what we're going to do, and here's the next 3 things we need to get. We need to make sure we're straight on so that we can deliver you a great experience. So then the next experience, and then the other thing is, let's say you have property managers. Mm-hmm. They may or may not report to you, but you need to then work with them to say, here's what I want the welcome experience to be. When someone first walks into our property, here are the 5 things that should greet them every time. Then the goodbye experience or the contract experience, before they come to an area, your market area.
Sure.
Are you doing anything additional that doesn't cost you a dime to say, hey, you're in this place. Did you know within 5 minutes there's the world's biggest ball of string or whatever there is.
There it is. I love it.
Right. Yep. And it's the deliberateness.
Yeah.
So here's something for you, Jay. Memory creation is the currency of your brand. Huh. So what will you do deliberately across those 4, 5, 6, however many you have? Don't make them like 20 intersection points. Where you say, here's the memory I want people to have and the feeling I want them to have. Here's how I'm going to operationalize to that. And you'll find it's not about a lot of money. It's about tweaking or a letter or a bag of cookies or a phone call afterwards or a checklist to make sure it's all right, or how you hire those property managers. Are you hiring people who are good at property management first? Or are you first hiring for people with the light behind their eyes who are great and wonderful humans who also have that skill? Or hiring people from hospitality and you can train how to get a property ready? Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it does indeed, because this is I love your wisdom, because I'm just going, I guess we're doing fine because the score is high, right? But now being intentional behind the creation of a memory and thinking, what could we do to make that part of the journey more memorable or something? Right. That's something completely different.
and here's another head twister that I want to give you is, how are you measuring customer love? For me, the score is part of the storytelling, but the first thing is your asset. Your customers are your asset. How many are coming back?
Oh, we have a lot of those.
Okay, so that's really what you should be tracking and measuring is customers voting with their feet. Are you talking about that with your people? Of the, how many new did we bring in? How many never came back again? How many come back? How many are recommending us? Those behaviors where they're volunteering or voting with their feet to come back to you are the end game. Now, that score is a symptom of if you will earn them back as the end game. But start with the story. As a result of the experience we delivered to all of our customers, did we earn the right to grow?
Ooh.
Right? Ding, 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 ding. Because you're not a not-for-profit. No entrepreneur is. But you need to earn it.
Wow. Okay. I feel like
head exploding.
Yeah. Yes. And that's putting it lightly, because again, you are addressing, what you do addresses directly, by far, one of my greatest personal weaknesses in business. This is why I've historically tried to find ways to disassociate myself from that part of the experience, is because I know the ideas are great. I know we can deliver. So long as I'm not the one interfacing with the customer, we're good.
Well, and you don't have to be the one. So, I mean, the thing is, think about this deliberateness. So think of what's the emotion and memory you want them to have after they respond for the first time. Because guess what? Your hello is an indicator of everything that's to come. And so that's why in this mom book, I broke it into 4 chunks. Number 1 is called Be the Person I Raised You to Be. That's all about, I know, right? That's all about what you just talked about, Jay. All of the people who interact with your customer, are you enabling them to thrive and bring the best version of yourself to work? How do you hire? Who do you hire? Do you give them so many rules that they're policy cops? Or do you enable them?
Oh my God. Get out of my head, Jeanne. It's not your funny.
I'm here permanently.
Policy cops. Yes, I love it.
Or do you create what I call enabling policy and the golden rule to collide, where you hire and develop people you trust so much that you let them make the call, right? Nobody's coming to the property next, so sure, no big deal. Stay a couple extra hours, or whatever it is. But it's those things. This isn't about throwing money away willy-nilly, by the way. This whole chapter is about hiring the right people, training them, giving them information, brainstorming with them so they're part of being that memory creator. How are you hiring memory makers, or are you hiring technical executors of processes?
I think we all know where I've played so far. Anyway, oh my goodness.
Okay, so then the next chapter, you want to hear the next chapter?
Yeah, by all means.
The next chapter, and again, it's not about the book, it's about these tools. So in each of these chapters, there's 8 case studies and an audit, so you can determine where you are today. And it's a complete toolkit. But it's also fun. There's a cartoon that starts each one.
Okay.
The case study's on only one page, Jay, because we have like 15 seconds of focus to learn about something. Then to the right of each page is something called a mom lens. So you can evaluate how you're doing against how your mom would want you to do it. And then in the last chapter is the Stop the Shenanigans quiz, where you can evaluate for each of those practices some questions that then can let you make changes. Okay, so the second chapter is about making it easy to do business with you. That's, do you make people wait? Are you working on customer time or your time? Is there a black hole of communication? Would you make your mom go through your phone tree? Would you give your mom a 4-hour window in which you might or might not show up for a visit with her? All of these things. And guess what that chapter is called, Jay?
What?
Don't make me feed you soap.
Wow. Yeah, right.
So these are the 8 major soapy moments that invade all of our lives as customers and create this put up your dukes thing. It gets back to what you talked about earlier, Jay, which is when customers come at you, it's frequently because they feel for some reason they haven't been respected, or their needs weren't met, or they had to fight a little to get what they needed, or they've been waiting, or you don't know them, you treat them like a brand new person, even though they've been with you 8 times. Whatever these things are, in this SOAP chapter, we identify the major things that make us nuts as customers. You evaluate where you are, and I nudge you, as my Italian grandma would say, to rethink your plan on how to be reliable, easy, and a joy to do business with. Because if you do nothing else, you've got to make it easy. You've got to make it simplified. But that, again, you're smart, Jay. You deliberately think through, what's our contract process? How do we get people keys? Is there anything weird about that? What all of those things where there might be clunkiness or confusion, you can wire it out.
Wow. Here's what I know. I know that you and I could talk on this subject for another 8 hours. And I would enjoy that. But unfortunately, we don't have that kind of time. But for those who have listened this far and are enjoying what you have to share, and they want to pick up more and find out more about what you've got going on, what's going to be the best way for them to track you down?
Sure. So my last name is Bliss. That is my real last name. People think I'm lying.
I was wondering.
I married a guy named Bliss. I had to go all over Match.com to find that guy. No, I'm just kidding. So best way, go to customerbliss.com. Everything you need is there. You can download the first chapter of the book, the Make Mom Proud book. I have 3 other books. The other book you might think about is Chief Customer Officer 2.0, but I'd suggest for entrepreneurs, start with the mom book. It's a complete toolkit to build your business the right way from the start, or to course correct, no matter where you are, in very operational, clear, understandable ways. And I'll be offering little toolkits later as we go. And that's really where it is. I also have a podcast that you can sign up for that's on my website. It says podcast at the top. You'll love the name of it. It's called the Chief Customer Officer Human Duct Tape Show.
Yeah, I think I've got a new show to listen to, because I know I've learned a lot from you thus far. Now, before we go one step further, I have a final question that I've got to ask you, because I really want to hear I want to hear how this goes.
Okay.
So, and as happens with nearly every episode, we get to a point of decision of what needs to happen. And the entrepreneurs listening right now may have come to that point of decision. Maybe they're like, you know what? That's it. I'm drawing the line in the sand. We're going to improve. Let's go. Now, like I know, that when we come to those moments of decisions, oftentimes we have a companion, and that companion comes in the form of a voice. And that voice often says things to us like, are you really going to straighten up your customer service department? You're going to start a business? Are you sure? Is that really going to work? How are you going to do all of these things? I mean, you remember what happened last time? And for some people, they're even related to that voice. So my question to you is as follows. Let's pretend that they're actually going to take action now. They're going to follow through, and they're going to do so in the next 24 to 48 hours. What would you suggest that they do?
Go on Amazon, buy this book. Link to me on LinkedIn. Get started. Read the book. And if you want to, and there's 10 of you who want to, we can have a book huddle, and I will be happy to spend an hour with you talking you through some of these ideas. My gift. But most important, when you get that book, go to the back, do the audit, pick 3 or 4 things to work on, not 45 things to work on.
Oh, you know me already.
Do not boil the ocean.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
There's 4 main chapters. Maybe pick one thing from each of the 4. Or if your area to really work on is that frontline experience, work on that. But do one thing, and then another, and then another. And over time, what you're going to find 3 months from now, you've done 5 things. Because if you try to do too many things at once, it will implode.
Yeah. Totally understood. And I can only say that I appreciate greatly the work that you've done. I didn't even know that there was such a thing as a customer experience or officer, chief, whatever you called it. It was great. I'm like, I can't believe that there's a person who does this. This is awesome. This is going to help me a lot. Because it feels new to me, but yet it's natural to you, and I can hear it, which is great. And more importantly, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to share your knowledge, your wisdom, as well as your insight here with us at the Cashflow Diary.
It's my pleasure. It's the only reason in my old age I continue to do this work, to help people improve customers and employees' lives. And this Would You Do That to Your Mother book is my gift back to our community to make it simpler, because we've overcomplicated it. So this thing will get you in the game very fast, and making it about growing your business. So thank you, Jay. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. I'm really inspired. I'd love to spend more time talking to you and getting to know you more.
Oh, well, you may just get that opportunity. That's for sure. That's for sure. But
Great.
Thank you again for sharing your wisdom here with us today.
You bet. My pleasure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means run right now over to customerbliss.com. Why? Because like I know, if you've been doing this short-term rental thing, this whole customer experience is throwing you for a loop and you're struggling. And you're like, man, I want to keep scaling, because that's the challenge, right? How do you scale? I mean, we've got many, many dozens of units now. We have lots of locations. We're serving hundreds and hundreds of customers on a monthly basis, and we're trying to deliver the best experience possible. And as an entrepreneur, we need help. And here's the good news. You now know where to go find it. Cool. Now that you found it, go get it, go grab it, and most importantly, implement it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.